and welcome to the Doofcast, the official variety podcast of doofmedia.com. My name is Scott Daly, and I am your host, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, the live-action version of Matt Freeman. Matt, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going pretty well, Scott.
That doesn't sound live-action at all.
Well, it's a different actor now. Yeah.
That sounds like a no-good, filthy cartoon, and we hate those. We hate cartoons. They're not real. We refuse to acknowledge them.
This is the cartoon version of Matt. I've taken over the podcast. I've been a cartoon this whole time.
Oh gosh, that's mind blowing.
I hope everyone knew that, because it's like in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'm a toon. I've always been a toon.
Oh well, you better watch out, or you're gonna get some dip.
Yeah, this discussion is just a hour talking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right?
Oh, yeah, that definitely.
Because, I mean, you're talking about live action and cartoons, and that is what that is.
Yeah, that is a live action cartoon. It's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like Lion King. All right. We are here this week. It's going to be kind of an interesting show, Matt. We've been doing these shows, I feel like, for the past month and a half, these kind of back-to-back shows that were either something patron-produced or a big movie that had just come out, or, a combination of those, or our Shyamalan movies we've been doing. So I kind of wanted an episode here at the end of May for us to just kind of like sit back and just talk about some stuff that's been on our minds.
Sure.
And thought it would be fun to do that, have one of those episodes. It's going to be like a potpourri episode a little bit here. We're mainly going to be talking about the plague of Disney live action remakes, but we've also got some other stuff in the news. And then I just wanted to spend some time sharing all the things I've been watching with you, because I've been watching a lot of good stuff lately.
Awesome. Let's get into it.
All right. Let's begin first with the corporate conglomerate / world power that is Walt Disney, and their recent, although when you look at these the years that these movies came out, it strikes me that this actually isn't recent. It just feels like it's recent because it's like spinning up more. But this recent scourge of live action, quote unquote, remakes of all their classic Disney cartoons. The movies we're talking about here are Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, Maleficent, The Jungle Book, Pete's Dragon, kind of, Beauty and the Beast, and then, of course, this year's Dumbo and Aladdin. And then coming later in this year, both The Lion King and the sequel to Maleficent are coming out as well. So I wanted to talk about these things with you, Matt, because it's become a big deal, and people have a lot of opinions about these. And wherever there's a place where people have a lot of opinions, we'll be there.
Yeah, great. I mean, if I hear people have opinions, then I automatically have an opinion about them having opinions.
Indeed. That is exactly what we do here. We just have opinions about people's opinions.
Yep.
So what is your opinion of the opinions of these Disney live action movies?
I don't know. No, I mean, I guess I don't have a huge problem with it. There's definitely a level of cynicism, particularly in the Disney, or in my take on the Disney movies, because it is so obvious that they just looked at all their most successful releases of all time and said, all right, well, let's just go back to this well and open the spigot and get some more money out of it.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that the movies aren't going to be plenty entertaining and beautiful. It seems like they kind of haven't been, though. I've seen a few of these, and I've just kind of felt like they were between bad and okay, whereas the movies that they are remaking are like classics that even as an adult I'm happy to watch. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, like just on the topic of remakes, I think like the same day that I walked out of Endgame, I realized that probably within my lifetime they'll be remaking the entire Marvel MCU, like with new actors,
right.
and like there'll be a twist on it. You know, there'll be a twist on certain things. It won't be exactly the same. It'll be a deconstruction maybe. But like you just know that something that successful is going to get remade, right? And that's kind of, that left me with some strange feelings, because I was like, but I don't want them to. I want this to be this is the story. I want this to be the story, and then I want people to just tell other stories. I don't want like my memories of this story to be contaminated or infringed upon or in any way encroached upon by other people trying to like cash in on the success of this story. And I don't know if that's a valid feeling, if that feeling makes sense, if that wasn't just a transient thing that's kind of going to pass away. That's sort of my ambient feeling right now about remakes, is like, why can't we just make new stories?
I mean, that's fair. And I'm kind of going to be taking the devil's advocate position on this stuff here, because I actually like, I haven't enjoyed very many of these movies. And I'm going to talk about Aladdin a little bit near the end of this conversation. I know you haven't seen Aladdin, so I'm going to give my non-spoiler thoughts of Aladdin at the end of this whole thing. But a preview for that is, I actually like that movie. It's pretty good. But my thing with this whole idea is that, like, Disney's Alice in Wonderland was a remake of Alice in Wonderland. Cinderella, like, these stories were either already unoriginal adaptations or remakes of properties already. Like, every single one of the stories we know and love in the Disney animated canon existed as stories before we watched them. So it feels a little weird to me for us to be going like, no, you can't remake Aladdin. That was the best, most original thing that was made only for artistic merit and no other reason. How could you do that? And I know it is a little bit different because these are very specifically remakes of the cartoons. They made it very clear. Aladdin is very clearly not just the telling of that story. It is the remake of the Disney telling of that story. I get that. I certainly get that. But I just feel like this has been the entertainment industry forever, basically.
Yeah. I guess maybe people in general, and me specifically, are reacting to what has become the modern usage of the word remake, where it really does mean like we're just gonna oh, you like that thing? Well, here it is again. and that's not the same as like a beloved children's story being transformed into a feature-length film with all kinds of, side characters. Like the difference, like I'm pretty sure whatever, the original version of Cinderella didn't have the talking mice in it, or I'm sure the fairy godmother wasn't like
no
a goofball. Like, but if they're gonna do a modern remake of Cinderella, gotta have the mice, gotta have the goofball, gotta have the carriage that comes from a pumpkin, and the horse is a man, and like gotta hit all those exact same beats, and then and even the same songs. Like, to me, that's the thing where you're like, this isn't really. Why don't I just watch the cartoon? I guess like, because that's ultimately there is a difference in my mind between like there's been 3 like Spider-Man within the last 30 years or 20 years or something, right?
Yeah, 20, less than 20, I think.
And they're all different takes on Spider-Man. And I'm more okay with that, because it's like, yeah, it's a different angle. It's a different, you have to hit certain beats, but you don't have to hit 100 beats. You have to hit maybe 5. And so for me, like, it kind of kills the potential creativity of the thing when you just know what you're getting. And maybe that's a question I should ask about Aladdin. Like, maybe I'm just wrong, because I'm basing a lot of my spiel here off of Beauty and the Beast, which really was just like a copy, and then everything that wasn't a copy wasn't a good addition.
Yeah, that is true.
Did Aladdin feel that way though?
Aladdin was definitely a copy. Where the reason I liked Aladdin is because I agree, everything that was good about Beauty and the Beast was in the animated thing. And everything that they added was terrible. It was awful. Like the stupid book that teleports you, like that was dumb. That, like, it felt like all of Beauty and the Beast changes were to address problems with the story that no one actually had. And I thought that was really stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how would the people not notice where the castle was in the town? It's like, because they didn't. Shut up.
It's far away.
Yeah. And so it felt like the movie bent over backward to do that. I think with Aladdin, on the other hand, I think the changes that they made to that movie are the best parts of it, and to the point where that's the movie I wanted to see. And as much as I love like the original Aladdin, I can't tell you how many times I watched that movie. I love it. I have all the songs memorized, and every time Will Smith's genie had to be Robin Williams, it didn't work. Every time Will Smith got to be Will Smith, it worked amazingly. And yeah, so part of me says I wish they could have just told the Aladdin story without having to be beholden to all these other things. I get that. I wish that were true as well. Here's where I struggle with this whole thing though. Like, cover bands are a thing, right? Like people go see covers of music they like. Why do they do that? Because you like the music.
You like the music. You want to see it live, which I suppose is similar to seeing it in theater.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point I was getting to, because Lion King is a Broadway musical. Aladdin is a Broadway musical. They do street performances at Disney World, at Disneyland, of the classic songs that they sing for these people. And going to do those things is an experience. You can go sit down at a show. I'm actually going to see the Aladdin show. The Aladdin show is coming to Dallas next week. I'm going to go see it, and I'm really excited about it. But not everyone can do those things, right? Like, tickets to theaters are expensive. Disney World is outrageously expensive. So I've heard a lot of people say, oh, these things are artistically bankrupt. They have no merit. It's just like you're seeing like a version of the street performance at Disney World in the theater. And I'm like, yeah, but not everyone can see that. So like, if I can sell you a $10 ticket to go to a theater and experience that thing, which you could not have experienced elsewhere, is that a bad thing? And that's where I struggle with that.
You know, and it could be, I'm walking through this in my mind as I talk, so this may not make complete sense, but I could have a completely backwards model of the economics of the situation, because a perspective that I think I may have said and that I've definitely heard is like, oh, it's a shame because the money that went into this movie could have gone into something original and creative and novel and something that I might enjoy much more. And I think that might be completely false, because the reality is they know this movie is going to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Because it's Aladdin. So they're willing to spend, whatever, $500 million or $500 million, however that works, a crap load of money making the movie, hiring, visual artists and actors and everyone involved in putting something like this together. Those people simply would not have jobs if filmmaking weren't this machine, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not like those people would all just find good jobs on super creative indie movies.
Right.
That's not how it works.
Some maybe would have.
Some maybe would have. But the equilibrium is that when you make a giant Disney movie, people like me say, well, I wouldn't normally see a movie this weekend, but there's a Disney movie out and I can actually take the kids to that. Yeah. If there's instead of one Disney movie, there's 4 interesting indie movies, I'm just going to see 0 of those because that's right. How my life is. And I think that's how a lot of people around the world, that's how their life is. It's just like, I mean, there are valid reasons why you would go see a big movie and not a small movie. So I don't know. I feel like it's like simplistic of me to say like, oh, they should make creative movies. It's like, yeah, okay, well, they have to feed their families too. Mm-hmm. So
and look, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, Disney's the good guy in this. I don't think that they're a corporation. They're doing what a corporation does. They're trying to make as much money as possible, and they have realized that by making these movies is a pretty surefire way to make a lot of money. Like, and so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like they're doing this for the lower income family that cannot afford to go to Disney World. Like, that's probably not in anyone in the finance section of Disney's mind as they make these movies. I'm just saying that outside of this corporate demand, this capitalist driven entertainment culture we live in, there is room for reasons for things to exist. There is artistic merit, and there is other merit to these things existing. And so it bothers me when we're just kind of all decided that, nah. And most of these movies are not good. Like that, I did not think Beauty and the Beast was a very good movie. Maleficent was fine. The Jungle Book was and I didn't even see Alice in Wonderland because I don't really like Tim Burton anymore. But I guess I'm just not cool with the idea that we're just going to say, you know, walking into these movies, we already are assuming they have no artistic merit whatsoever because of the story behind why it's being made. Mm-hmm. That feels weird to me. I don't like that.
That's definitely a narrative that I'm seeing. And what's interesting about that is that I don't really ever think about whether something quote unquote has artistic merit. I just think about whether I'm going to be entertained by it.
Right.
And like, it's almost a coin flip. I feel like Beauty and the Beast. I love that story. They actually did such a bad job on the movie that I like just didn't enjoy it. So it's like, wow, that's kind of amazing that you took this really great story and you did such a poor job that I disliked it. But like, I'm not actually surprised to hear you say that Aladdin is good. Like really. From the beginning, it was like, well, it's Aladdin. It's
right.
Maybe my favorite Disney movie. It's a great story. It has some of the best individual scenes from any Disney movie. It would be hard to screw up, and it sounds like they did a pretty good job on it.
And it's really freaking funny, especially the parts. So like basically everything in the palace, like all the palace intrigue stuff, is extended because the movie's 30 minutes longer. So you have this really extended sequence where like Aladdin's trying to woo Jasmine and doing a really terrible job at it. And the genie is being Will Smith playing Hitch from his movie Hitch. And it really works. It's really funny. Like everything about it works really well. And I think it works well enough to where the parts where I feel like they were trying too hard to do Robin Williams, which is just an impossible task. Like you're just never going to bring the energy or the sense of timing or humor that Robin Williams has. It's just never going to happen. But the other parts overwhelmed that for me. And I'm not going to sit here and call it the best movie ever, but I think it's like my favorite of these remakes. Mm-hmm. Like maybe Pete's Dragon is better, but that almost doesn't count for me because like, did anybody really see the Pete's Dragon movie? It wasn't even an animated movie. It was live action with just an animated dragon in it. So I don't know if that even counts. But out of all the other ones, absolutely, Aladdin is my favorite. And so maybe it's just there were some growing pains with this thing, and they have to get into their groove when they're like making this mix between playing to your nostalgia and then doing something new and interesting with it. Because what Aladdin does is it takes the character of Jasmine, who was actually like, if you look at that movie objectively without the lenses of nostalgia, Aladdin is like a nothing, or Jasmine is a nothing character. She doesn't do anything. She really like is barely characterized, and the movie doesn't actually like solve her main problem. It's just like she didn't want to get married because she's being chosen for it. Mm-hmm. And now it's
Aladdin.
He solved a problem. Yay. And the movie takes a much more 2019 updated, like, I don't want to say woke, but women can do things now type of stance with it.
Or just she's a real character now.
Yeah, maybe. Exactly. Yeah. She's a real character and she has wants. Like her whole thing is she doesn't want to marry someone who will become Sultan. She wants to be the Sultan herself. Like she says, I have earned this. I have the ability to do this. I want this for myself. And the movie explores that. And I think it's really great. Naomi Scott, who plays Jasmine, is phenomenal in Aladdin. She's the best part of the movie, I think. She's got a great singing voice. She's wonderful. I think she's going to be a freaking superstar. And I think this movie could be like her like take notice of me moment in that, because I think she's really great. And so what they've done to that character in the movie is fantastic. So maybe we've just got to get to a place where we're gonna they've figured out what they want their formula to be. On the other hand, like Beauty and the Beast made a shit ton of money. So like, I mean, that's the whole thing with this is like in a lot of the circles that we run in that, you know, people that care about story and really like art and really like talking about and digesting art. A lot of the narrative is that these are not good movies and they shouldn't be made and it's a waste of time and all these things. But the general public loves this shit.
Yeah.
They love it. All these movies are making a lot of money. Even Dumbo did pretty well for a remake of a 1960s, 50s movie that nobody really cared about.
Right. And that one had to be different because
because it was
the
racist
original
as fuck.
cartoon is like racist and like traumatizing to watch, actually.
Because there was a literal Jim Crow, like a literal crow named Jim who
Yeah. Well,
Oh
well
my
like there's like a prolonged sequence in the movie where Dumbo gets drunk. So,
yeah.
I mean, so like, and I actually find the specific creatively bankrupt complaint to be a bit confusing because like arguably the first of these was Alice in Wonderland, right?
Yes.
And that was Tim Burton just Tim Burtoning it all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
Just the maximum possible level on the Tim Burton dial. And Johnny Depp, apparently, I didn't see it, but Johnny Depp looks like he's just on the absolute fringe of his exploration of the craft of acting, for better or worse.
Yeah, he's
in
full Johnny Depp wears a different kind of hat.
Yes, mode. Exactly. So it's not like people weren't trying weird things with some of these movies.
Yeah.
So that's creative, right?
Yeah.
It didn't work. Okay, I didn't see it, so I can't really rag on it.
Yeah.
But,
and the Maleficent movie was Sleeping Beauty, but it was a new take on Sleeping Beauty. It was focus the story on the bad guy and learning that, hey, maybe she's not actually that bad of a guy. And that movie did so well that a sequel's coming out this year. And that's actually the first Maleficent movie, believe it or not, is Angelina Jolie's highest grossing film by far. That's the movie she's been in that made the most money. That movie was huge. It was $800 million movie. That's enormous.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so I think there is room for art in a capitalistic society. Like that's something that's undoubtedly true because it exists in our society.
Right. I mean, so much of this art that we love would not exist without the funding apparatus for it. So
Right.
That's all fine. There's definitely a part of me that is just like I want more. Like, I mean, like what Pixar is doing. Yeah, they're on Toy Story 5 or whatever. But like the thing is, like, I'm pretty sure all the Toy Story movies have been great. So
right.
So why not, right? But they're not remaking Toy Story 1. That would frustrate me because I'm like, well, why do that when you could make Toy Story 6? I would literally rather you make Toy Story 12 than remake Toy Story, True.
Yeah. And look, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I completely do not understand the people that look at this future slate and go, ugh. Like, I get it. I get not being excited about the new Lion King movie coming out. I totally get that. I don't know how excited I am about the new Lion King movie out. I'm going to go see it because I feel like I have to go see these movies because we do a podcast. But I'm not like jazzed to see that story retold, but I want to be open to the idea that this could be good. It could be. I don't know if it's going to be a different take or not. They've actually showed very little of the movie in the trailers, oddly enough, considering it's coming out in like a month, I think. And so like, I don't like, there were shots in Aladdin that were literal shot for shot remakes. I think everything they've showed in The Lion King so far looks like it is a literal shot for shot remake. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. I do kind of want to take my kids to see Aladdin. So
I think they would enjoy it. I really do. Like that's. I mean, the thing that I was doing sitting in this movie is, kids today are going to really enjoy this movie. And yes, the argument exists. Why can't you just show them the cartoon? Absolutely, and you should. The cartoon is a better movie. I still think the cartoon version is better. But just because it's better doesn't mean that one has no inherent merit. And you're also going to get like, there's going to be kids that are like, oh, that's an old movie, I don't want to watch that, right? Like how often do do we look at older movies that were made before, like well before we were born, and be like, I don't want to watch that old thing, but like a new movie is new, you know? So
yeah,
I don't know.
No,
I think that's just part of us like growing up and getting older, is that this is going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I remember Pocahontas was like a really big deal when it came out, you know, and like I was at an age where like my mom got the CD and we would listen to all the songs in the car, and I think I've shown my kids Pocahontas, but I don't think it's stuck in their brains to any degree. Like, and the only reason it stuck with me is because that was like, well, that was the Disney movie for that summer, so that was what we were paying attention to. Yeah.
Well, and part of this for me is, and I think we overuse the word problematic, so I don't want to use that too much. But Aladdin, for as great of a movie as it was, did have a very 90s view on casting a movie about Middle Eastern people, in that every single voice actor in this movie was a white person playing a brown person, right? Mm-hmm. And there were some not great lyrics about some not great depictions of what the Middle East was, of the type of people Middle Eastern people were, just you know, very dated references and kind of things like that. And while I don't think this Guy Ritchie directed white guy remake of Aladdin is completely devoid of some of those problems, Agrabah itself kind of exists as this like cultural amalgamation of like every different kind of Middle Eastern culture, in a way that like it seems a very Americanized view of it. It's like, this is what over there is like, right? And it just kind of it takes some stuff from India too, which is a completely different place that is not at all really related, and it just kind of mashes it all together. So Guy Ritchie's Aladdin still has problematic elements to it, but the one thing you can say is that when they set out to make this movie, they said, we're going to cast a bunch of non-white people in these roles. We're going to fix the thing we did in 1992 and bring some people of color to these roles. And they did that. So like, if we're talking like which version is better for depiction of a culture, I kind of want to say the 2019 one. And so like, if you're going to show your kid a thing, which is better to show them? I don't know.
Interesting. See, I would have never argued that the older one was trying to depict a culture in the first place. it was just, it's the fantasy pastiche of the exoticized Middle East bazaar, like from 1001 Arabian Nights, where it's not a real place. Like it's a fantasy world, and I don't actually see a problem with that personally, because it's not even trying to be about a culture. I can see the counter argument to that, and I see your point that it is actually cool to have something that bothers to speak about the actual culture that these stories came from, because like the Aladdin story, it's a lot different, right? But it is a story that is within the canon of that region. So that's cool. I can see that. That's a neat point.
Yeah, I mean, my only real counter argument to that would be, if you're a kid living in America and Aladdin is your only lens into what that culture looks like, you're going to bring about some false ideas. Even if the movie itself, and I agree, the cartoon Aladdin is not interested in actually depicting what Middle Eastern culture is. But if that's your only lens to something that you think is Middle Eastern culture, you're going to get a very distorted view of what it's like actually living in these places. And to a lot of kids, myself included, growing up, that was really the only window into any of that stuff. So
yeah, right. Like I've never quite reflected on the fact that I don't think any cities actually had like the giant minaret towers that are that are ubiquitous.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe like one. Maybe one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you were fortunate enough to have a much more multicultural upbringing because you lived overseas. I did not.
Yeah, but I never went to the Middle East, so
True, yeah.
so it's still just as much of a I learned everything I know about the Middle East from Aladdin, just like you, basically. Yeah.
Great. So now the most important question we've asked all night: is The Lion King a live action movie?
No.
Yeah, I agree. I understand we're calling these live action remakes. I even gave the episode title "Live Action Disney," but it's a CG animated movie. Like at least the Jungle Book had like one real dude in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Are some of the backdrops real?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I thought maybe some of them were. But yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. Much like we've redefined the word remake away from like, oh yeah, you take the same story and you do a new twist on it to mean you just remake the movie exactly. We've also redefined animated to mean, does it look animated to the naked eye? Does it look like a cartoon?
Right.
Which I mean, whatever. I guess if we as a culture decide that's what that word means now, then fine. But like, it's clearly it benefits from the things that animation benefits from, which is like minute control over the image. Like that's why the Lion King movie is so beautiful. Is like you can't photograph like no place on earth actually looks like that. You can't photograph that because it's not real. You have to draw it to get the style, to get the heightened, larger than life style of it. And you can do the same thing in a computer, and I'm sure they will, because if they don't, it's going to look really drab.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a question: is the movie going to look drab? Because they're going so hard for the realism, they're going so hard for photorealistic. What is that going to do to the movie? And that's, I mean, we've seen so little of this movie so far, weirdly enough, but the worry is when you go for photorealistic with your characters, do your characters not have life to them anymore? Like, do you want to watch a movie about a real lion talking about being king? Or do you want to watch a movie and that's one thing that I don't think the movie has sold us on so far, is that there are no expressions on these animals because they look like animals. They don't look like people because they're not. They're photorealistic animations of real lions and birds and hyenas and is that an unsurmountable problem? Like, I have no doubt that you can photorealistically draw an animal and also give it expression, but we haven't seen it in this movie yet, and it seems like they're going so hard to make it look as good as possible. And I'll admit, those lions look like lions. They sure do look like real lions. But is that going to end up being bad for the movie?
Yeah, I guess my take on that is, first of all, I wonder if they're not withholding pictures and images from the movie because they have seen what the tendency is, which is like what happened to the Sonic movie, where people and my position on the Sonic movie was basically that if they had just gone with it the way it was, you would have gotten used to the way it looked in like 15 seconds.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I've even felt like if you walk into if a movie is like, if you're in the middle of a movie and you just like walk into it while it's playing, the CGI looks terrible. And then you get used to it in like 30 seconds. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but like there's something that the brain does when it goes from a state of perceiving normal reality to perceiving CGI, where you can absolutely tell it's fake and it looks terrible. And then after a few seconds of looking at it, your brain like adjusts to it and then looks fine.
Yeah.
So this is all a long-winded way of saying, like, I think that almost no matter what they show us in like a trailer, we're going to think it looks bad no matter what. But it may work out really well in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I just caution against judging too much from the trailer.
I across the board, that is true. Judging too much from the trailer, bad idea. And I know what you're saying is true for a fact because it happened with me in Aladdin. I still don't think the genie design is very good, but he shows up in the movie and you're kind of like, yikes. And then a couple minutes go by and you're like, okay, that's what it is. That's the genie. That's fine. It helps that they smartly put Will Smith in human mode as much as possible. Not always, but as much as possible. Your brain does get used to it. So I think you're probably right. They're going to have to advertise it eventually. Or are they? I mean, it's The Lion King. Like, this movie's going to make so much money. It's going to make crazy money.
Yeah, I don't think they can probably get away with advertising it without really showing a ton, right? Like, you don't, like, the people who are going to see it are almost already going to see it regardless of what advertising material you put out. Right. Like, there's definitely value in advertising just to let everyone know it exists. But beyond that, like, I don't need to see the, long live the king scene in a trailer to be convinced the movie is going to be worth seeing. Sure. Yeah. I mean, the thing I'm mostly curious about is, are they gonna try to do some different stuff with this movie? Like, will it be like Aladdin, that my favorite parts are the new areas they explored? And I don't know the answer to that at all. Yeah. So as we've been talking, I've been flipping through like the stills from the movie, and like literally every shot is a frame for frame like mirror of something from the movie, right? Down to really small details. The only scenes from the movie they've showed off so far are shot for shot remakes, which either means they're specifically choosing those scenes, or it means the entire movie is a shot for shot remake, which is possible. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Actually, I know that's not true because I don't think Be Prepared is going to be in the movie. Well, then I'm not seeing it. Which is like a crime against humanity. Is wrong with people. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll find out. I'm looking forward to seeing how that movie turns out, even though I'm not like super excited about it. But like I said, we have Maleficent. I forget what the subtitle is for that, because you don't use in sequels, we don't use numbers anymore, Matt, because the search engine optimization does not like numbers. They like subtitles, so we don't use those numbers anymore. Of course. But it was announced today, everyone, exciting news, that Disney's remaking Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Cool. Yeah. And so, like, let's take everything I've said up until this point and don't forget it. But I think Snow White is the one movie where I'm like, okay, we really don't need more of these. Like, Snow White has been remade a lot of times. Like, this isn't like Aladdin came out in 1992 and then nothing happened except for some crappy directed video sequels until 2019. Same thing with The Lion King. Snow White literally had a remake like 5 years ago. It was called Snow White and the Huntsman. And it's actually not that bad. The sequel was trash, but it wasn't that bad. And I just don't know if we need more Snow White. Well, Snow White's one where the original movie is unwatchable, so I guess it kind of makes sense, right? Like, well, I guess that doesn't bother me so much because it's not like with remaking Aladdin, I was like, yeah, but the original movie's perfect. So, but yeah, you can definitely improve on Snow White. Well, don't worry, Matt, because they've tapped a very important director to take over to direct this movie. His name is Mark Webb, and he's responsible for such amazing movies as The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah. Well, I'm glad he's able to find work. That's nice. It's good for him. Yeah, not a lot of. He's also apparently directing the Your Name live action adaptation. So, okay, that's coming out. I don't know when that's coming out. Okay, soon? Okay. You know, I'm gonna revise my statement about Be Prepared not being in the movie, because if Jeremy Irons isn't Scar, then it would just feel really wrong. But Chiwetel Ejiofor is Scar, and he's amazing. So yeah, he is. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we came to a conclusion here other than Disney's bad, but sometimes movies are good.
Can that be our TLDR?
I don't think. I mean, I don't think I would say Disney's bad.
Matt, Disney's bad.
Is Disney bad?
Disney's bad. Do you not
When
get
did it? I can't tell what irony setting we're using right now.
No, I mean, look. I don't think Disney is bad. I think the system in which Disney is allowed to literally take over the entire entertainment industry on their own is probably not good. That's what I'll say.
Yes, the fact that they own every studio is an issue. And I don't think we've seen where that's going yet.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not
So
good.
that's what I meant by Disney bad.
Okay. Right. Gotcha.
America bad.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
All right. All right. I get it now. Okay.
Okay. All right. So that is Disney live action. Go see Aladdin, guys. You might not love it. There might be parts of it that really bother you and make you want to watch the animated feature, but I think there's enough good stuff in there. Will Smith is really good. He's really good. Good job, Will Smith.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, next thing we wanted to talk about. Let's talk about not a remake, but a reboot.
A sequel? Sequel show?
Yeah. We're talking about, of course, about CBS's new Star Trek series, Picard, which just had a teaser trailer. I think it was sometime last week. It's just like a really brief minute-long teaser trailer. But I think we've known about this show for a little bit now, that they were bringing back Jean-Luc Picard and bringing back Patrick Stewart to play him. Still don't know much about the show, other than this teaser trailer showed us a retired from Starfleet Admiral Picard, who that's new. We didn't see Admiral Picard in the show. And that is obviously going to be brought back to Starfleet because of something that might be related to the thing that happened to bring him out of it. Matt, what are your feelings about this?
I mean, so every TNG fan knows the tone that you should obviously strike if you're trying to sell a Picard show. And that tone is basically some kind of deeply inspirational, perhaps a bit nostalgic tone that very much leverages Patrick Stewart front and center. And instead they chose to make kind of a vague, dramatic sounding, terrible thing implicit in what has happened, and Patrick Stewart is shown for like 2 seconds, and Picard has like retired from life in Starfleet because of something which you feel like is already out of character. Like the only thing you know about Picard in this trailer is that he's behaving out of character. So that's not a good sign.
Well, I mean, how do we know that? We don't know what's happened to him. You sound like the people that are saying Luke Skywalker was behaving out of character right now.
Because nothing could make Picard leave Starfleet.
I don't know if that's true.
I like, here's the thing. Yes, I'm sure like if you find a suitably heinous trauma or just like his mind starts to leave him or his body starts to fail him or something, right? But like that he stuck with it and stayed strong through, the Borg taking over his body and using him to kill thousands of people. He stuck with it and stayed strong and like his whole character is that he's the moral core. So if your premise of your show is like, oh yeah, but he's broken now, I'm just not sure if that's kind of like stories about Superman that emphasize how scary the idea of Superman is. It's like, that's not what Superman is for. There are plenty of other superpowered characters who you should use for that before you ever have to tap the Superman well. There are plenty of other sci-fi heroes who you can show being like fallen from grace before you have to tap the Jean-Luc Picard well.
See, this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the problem of doing a podcast with someone for like 3 years. They know exactly what buttons to press to get you onto their side, because Matt just pressed the "it's like Superman" button, and I immediately agree with him now.
Yes.
You're absolutely 100% right. I see exactly what you mean, and I'm fully on your side. This is a betrayal of everything Jean-Luc Picard stands for.
Right. Like that is the point of the character of Jean-Luc Picard. I am fine with even this kind of story, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with this kind of story. It's just this is Jean-Luc. Don't mess with me, man. don't bring back Patrick Stewart and then betray me like this.
Yeah, and like here's when I first heard they were going to do a Star Trek show and bring back Jean-Luc Picard. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought the show was going to circle on Picard. And I mean, the show is named Star Trek : Picard. So like, this is Patrick Stewart's show. This is a Jean-Luc Picard thing. And I mean, look, The Next Generation, I love that show a lot, and I think Jean-Luc Picard is key to making that show work. But it was never really his show, right? Like, he was at the center of it, but it was never like, this is about Jean-Luc. A lot of the episodes were about Jean-Luc. Not all of them were. And I think they're probably going to try to do that same thing, because I really don't think you can support a whole show like this on the back of one person. I just don't think like you can tell enough stories for that to work. But just the way they're centering it like that, it makes me a little nervous.
Makes me nervous too. I don't want to come on too strong and be like, they're definitely ruining it and it's definitely going to be bad. I'm purely reacting to the fact that I'm just like, really, this is how you're choosing to frame it with your first piece of real advertising material?
Yeah.
It could even be misleading. Like, I could just my interpretation of the ad could be wrong, right? Like, I don't want to be like, Matt officially predicts 95% confidence this show will suck, but it makes me nervous, I think, is a better way of phrasing it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
What it did for me, and this is probably the opposite of what the marketing wants to do, but it made me want to be like, no, stay retired. Don't come back. Like, you seem like you're just at your vineyard and you're just making wine and you just seem like you're really chill and like it's pretty out. I don't want to see you pulled back into something that could make you miserable. Like, that's kind of how I feel about Patrick Stewart as well. Because Patrick Stewart's an old man. He's 78 years old. He's old. And like, I don't want him to spend like the last of his days like rehashing this character. Like, I don't know. Like, it could be great. It could be great, and I'm gonna regret saying these things. But like, stay retired, Picard. Stay retired, Patrick. Don't come back. And that's what the teaser made me feel. And that's like the exact opposite of the thing you're wanting to do when you're trying to sell a show all about this character.
Yeah. I feel you. I agree with you 100% on all those things. You know, one thing I will say is I was going to say something like, I like to be able to imagine that like Picard lived out his days as a starship captain and, you know, died somehow, right? Like, But the thing is, the Star Trek films have already kind of, I don't like the term, I don't like the term ruin the character, because they haven't ruined Jean-Luc Picard for me. I literally see movie Picard as a different character, as Plinkett suggests.
Yes.
But like, other people have already tried to go back to this well and mess it up. So why not give them a chance? Maybe they can fix it.
Sure. Yeah. And we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we're bad Star Trek fans, I think.
Yeah.
Because we still have not watched a second of the new Star Trek Discovery show, which I think just ended its second season, I think.
You know, I didn't even watch much of Enterprise, to be honest.
I don't think I watched any of Enterprise. I don't think I've watched a Star Trek show since Voyager ended.
Yeah. Which is funny, because I watched all of Voyager. I watched all of DS9. I don't know what, I guess it's not entirely surprising. I mean, it's a completely different thing, you know?
Yeah.
Is the new Star Trek show better? Did it get better? Because I heard it was having a real rough patch for a while.
Yeah, I hear some people like it a lot, and some people are very mixed about it. It's very like, it's very modernized in not good ways. I hear it. Like, I feel like Star Trek was always like, look ahead to the future and like this ideal existence of of humanity. And it seems like Discovery is more interested in making like explicit commentary on modern day society. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that Star Trek never made commentary on modern day society. Like I think it, like the best of science fiction, it did it through its conceit. You know, if it shows, especially Next Generation, if it shows this is like the ideal to strive for, then it is making commentary on our current state. And I think the original show did that a lot. Pre Next Generation, like the first Star Trek did that a lot. But this, from what I've heard, and again, this is secondhand, so I'm not sure how accurate this, but from what I've heard, it's much more textual and explicit in that kind of commentary, to its detriment. But I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds lame. But well, I probably won't watch it unless people start raving about it.
I feel like I feel like we need to watch it and do an episode on it. Like, I just feel like that's like, as two people that love Star Trek and have a podcast, it's just weird to me that hasn't happened yet. But I just, I've had difficulty motivating myself. And part of it is because it's on CBS All Access. Like, if it was on Hulu, I might have just booted it up out of curiosity by now. But like actually purchasing a new streaming service to watch it, I don't know.
So most Star Trek is episodic in the sense that you could watch an episode in isolation and understand pretty much what the deal is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if this show is like that, but I do. Whether or not it is, almost, I want someone to say, Matt, a really good episode is episode blank. Just watch that one, and if you like that one, maybe you'll give the show a shot.
Yeah.
But no one really talks about no one seems to be talking about that show that way, which is also worrying, because if there's not I feel like if there's not good episodes, if no one's like, oh, that one episode though, then it probably doesn't have much going on.
Yeah, but I mean, how much of shows, how often do we talk about shows like that anymore? Like, I feel like if it's not Game of Thrones, like conversations on shows goes away like a day after the show comes out. Like, it's just gone. True. So
yeah, and plus there's like 3 total TNG episodes where I would be like, well, you have to see this.
And none of them are in the first season, that's for sure.
None of them are in the first season. And really the good part of DS9 was the Dominion War, which is not one-off episodes. Yeah. It's Voyager, I don't know if it had any good parts.
You know what I think I'm going to do? I've decided. Here's what I'm going to do. We're meeting up at the end of the month, you, me, and Michael. Does Michael have a Blu-ray player at his cabin?
I don't know. Well, we watched a movie somehow, so probably.
Okay, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to bring it, and we're going to watch some episodes of Star Trek Discovery. That's what we're going to do. I've decided.
Okay. I don't know if Michael likes Star Trek, but okay, yeah. You and I do. That's all.
He's overruled. He's overruled. Yeah. We'll watch at least one episode.
Okay.
And then we'll decide from there.
Okay.
All right, there we go. So that is Picard. I think it's filming right now. I'm not sure if they've announced when that show's coming out. I would assume next year sometime if it's filming right now. But we'll see. That's also a CBS All Access show, so probably not going to watch it.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Doof. All right, I just wanted to finish up this episode, Matt, on just some... I've just been watching a lot of stuff, and I want to talk about it. So
cool,
just some quick rundown, some quick no spoilers rundown on some of the things that I've been watching lately. The first thing is a little movie called John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, which is Latin for prepare for war.
Oh.
And if you didn't know that, the movie tells you. So
I see.
Yes. Because I didn't know that. I don't speak Latin.
I mean, I knew bellum meant war.
Yeah.
I didn't know para meant prepare.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
So this is, of course, the third movie in the John Wick series, a series I quite enjoy. And I liked this movie a lot. They're getting more extravagant in good ways. It's kind of like how the Fast and Furious franchise has kind of leaned into its absurdity a little bit.
Yeah.
John Wick is starting to lean into the absurdity of the action set pieces to an amazing level. and they're doing interesting things with the action set pieces. They're doing interesting things with the world building. The thing I think that is lost in this movie is the emotional core of what the first John Wick was. Spoilers for the original John Wick, but this is a guy who was a former contract killer that whose wife passed away, and then gave him a dog as like a here's my last present to you to help you get over this. And then some punk named Theon Greyjoy killed his dog. And
Theon. This is why Theon deserves everything that happens to him.
Yep, exactly. And he didn't take that well and killed a bunch of people, and then it's gone on from there. But the emotional core of that being like this man who is grieving for his dead wife, and by killing his dog, they took his grieving process away from him, and he reacted in the only way he knew how, which was with death and violence. And that's really, I think, good emotional core of this movie. And it's kind of gotten lost in the expansion of both the violence and the world building around the secret assassin society. And I guess that's like inevitable though. Like I'm saying that like it's a complaint about the movie, but it's going to happen eventually. Like he's 3 movies into killing 100 and something people per movie. The emotional core of sad Keanu Reeves is going to go away eventually. And I think we've fully gotten there. But
yeah, I mean, I've only seen the first movie, but it kind of felt like the emotional arc was done.
Yeah.
After the first movie, so in order to make sequels, you then have to. I don't know how they did it, but it seems like it would be difficult to elegantly parlay that into a whole bunch more killing.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah. And there's going to be a John Wick 4. This movie is actually making a ton of money. This is more successful than either of the 2 movies. It had a great opening weekend. I think it made $65 million, which for a rated R action movie like this is enormous. That's huge. And so they're going to keep coming. And if this is like Keanu Reeves' Mission Impossible, then I'm for it.
It sounds amazing.
Because he very much enjoys doing them. He's very good in them, and they're spectacle that I love to see. So enjoyed this movie a lot. Maybe not as much as the first movie, but I think I enjoyed it more than the second. There's some fun directing stuff. Like it's just well-directed action. It's well choreographed, well-directed. These guys were former stuntmen, so they know what they're doing as far as choreographing action. And they know what they're doing as far as putting the camera in the right place to capture all that great action. So really like these movies.
Awesome. I have no real reason why I haven't watched the second one, and maybe that'll be my homework assignment to myself is watch all the John Wicks soon, and then we can do a John Wick cast.
That'd be great. I'd love to do that because I think there's a lot of underlying thematic stuff that I don't think gets talked about very much in these movies. That they tell this kind of thematic story through a lot of the imagery they choose to use, and I'd love to dig into that. That'd be fun.
Cool.
Also, right. Lawrence Fishburne is in the second and third ones, and I love him so much. He's having so much fun in these movies, and you can tell.
I haven't seen him in a while. I miss Morbius.
Oh, he's so great. He's so great. Okay. The next movie I saw was a movie called Booksmart. This is Olivia Wilde's, I think it's her directorial debut. It is a teen comedy about 2 girls the day before. It's like a teen day before graduation movie, which you've seen.
It's super bad. It's super bad, but with 2 girls instead of 2 boys.
Yes, but also no.
Okay.
I don't want to say yes because I don't want to feel like it's original and they just did super bad but girls. I mean, it has a lot of that same kind of humor. Like it's about these 2 people that are very close friends and like dealing with what happens after graduation. Our lives are going to change. Our friendship's going to change. It's definitely dealing with all those things. But the kind of the inciting incident of this whole thing is that one of these girls, played by Beanie Feldstein, who is Jonah Hill's sister, which is funny because it doesn't help with my super bad thing. But but she is worked her ass off all throughout high school, like got the best grades. She's valedictorian. She basically said, sacrifice social life, sacrifice having fun to get into a good college. And she kind of therefore feels like she's superior to everyone else in her school. And then she finds out the day before graduation that, everyone else in school also got into pretty good colleges, but they had fun. And so it's kind of like this examination of classism a little bit, and like that feeling of superiority she had as being some like seeing her classmates as real people that also can accomplish things, and also exploring her friendship with her best friend. And it's very funny. Like there's like this, like I feel like this string of like young girl in high school near graduation movies lately that I've just loved. Like there was Booksmart, Lady Bird came out. Edge of 17 is like one of my favorite movies of the past 5 years. And it's like, I don't know what it is about these movies in particular, but they work really well on me. I think Olivia Wilde, for like a first time director, directed this fantastically. It's really great. It's really good. And nobody saw it because everyone was seeing Aladdin.
That's terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I think I saw the trailer for this, and it looked really funny from the trailer. Like you could tell it was going to work from the trailer.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Also, without spoiling it, Billy Lord is in this movie, who is, of course, God, why am I blanking on her name? I'm so mad at myself. Princess Leia. What's her name?
Princess Leia.
What's her?
Princess Leia.
Carrie Fisher.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, Scott. Anyway, Billy Lord, Carrie Fisher's daughter, is in this movie, and she is amazing. She's the most hilarious, incredible performance in this movie. It's so weird and random and wonderful. I don't want to spoil any more than that, but I think everyone needs to go see this movie, because this is the type of movie that like people complaining about Aladdin and these Disney movies like want more of. They want more of movies like this, and then we don't go see them. So go see this movie if you can. It's really fantastic.
I want to, but now I have to choose between this and John Wick Part 3. So.
That's a tough choice. I think Booksmart is one of my favorite movies of this year. So if that makes your decision any better. And see, with this, like, I'm okay with you not going to see it in theaters, Matt, because I know that you would probably rent it afterwards if you didn't see it in theaters. So I feel like you would still see it. So, but everyone else out there, go see it in theaters.
Yeah. I have excuses for the next few years. Indeed.
As long as those kids are around, you got those excuses.
Yep.
Something you can watch right now, though, is The Lonely Island presents the Unauthorized Bash Brothers Experience, a visual poem. This is a 30-minute thing on Netflix by the Lonely Island guys, and it is just as amazing as all that would make you think it would be. It is about Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire, the Bash Brothers of the Oakland Athletics in 1988, who hit a lot of home runs and did a lot of steroids. And it's, oh my God, I've watched it 3 times. It's so funny. It's so good. Like everyone needs to watch. Netflix, of course, has done a really terrible job of like telling people that this exists, because that's just what Netflix does sometimes. But it's out there, and it's 30 minutes of your time, and you will laugh your ass off. Everyone should go watch this.
Definitely. Definitely will.
If you like any of the Lonely Island stuff, like Popstar, if you like any of that stuff, you'll love this.
It's brilliant if you haven't heard of it.
Yeah. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about really quick is an Amazon Prime show called Fleabag. This is a show written and starring Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who you might know, Matt, as the robot in Solo, a Star Wars story.
Oh, good.
Arguably the best part of that movie. Arguably. Anyway, she created and stars in this show. I believe it was I don't know if it's really a Amazon original or if it's one that like it played because Britain television is different, right? So I don't know if like this played on a BBC channel and then like for United States distribution came out on Netflix or on Amazon Prime. I don't know. They call it an Amazon original, but that's messed up. Anyway, it's fantastic. It's really like I've recommended a show called Catastrophe before on here. I think it's similar to that in that it's 6 episodes. Each season is 6 episodes. They're 30 minutes each. It's a really low time commitment. It is hilarious. I'm trying to come up with how to describe what this show is. Like it's Phoebe Waller-Bridge is like playing a character. She breaks the fourth wall and she talks to the audience all the time about the ridiculous stuff that's going on in her life. The setup is basically she owns this cafe with her best friend, and her best friend recently died. She killed herself after her boyfriend cheated on her. And so she's like dealing with the tremendous grief at losing her best friend while also like putting up with all this stuff she has with her family and her sexual escapades around the city of London and all this complex yet hilarious and raunchy and funny stuff. We started watching it yesterday, and we've finished the first season and are an episode into the second season because we just can't stop watching it. In fact, that's like what I'm going to do as soon as I finish here. It's really, really funny. And it's another thing that I think is pretty low time commitment, 30-minute episodes, just a few of them.
Yeah, basically a 3-hour movie for a season, right? That makes sense. Yeah, that sounds like I would like it.
Yeah, if you like that kind of like British dry comedy, it's that. I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge is brilliant. And like the reason I started watching is because season 2 just came out recently, and everyone on like the internet is talking about how amazing season 2 is. So it finally made me go, okay, I'll see what this is about. And wow, I was blown away. And I'm not even I'm not even very far into season 2 yet. So like I'm not even on to the episodes that everyone was like, holy shit, this show's amazing. So very exciting.
Awesome. Well, damn, Scott, you've loaded me up with some recommendations here.
Yeah. Look, everyone go see all those things.
Yeah, all four of these things.
Yeah.
2 movies, a Netflix thing, and an Amazon thing.
Yeah. You've all got unlimited time, right?
Right.
That's how that works. And go see Aladdin. Shit. The only one of these things you shouldn't see is probably Star Trek Picard.
And we may be wrong about that.
Yeah. We don't even know what we're talking about. All right, cool. I think that's it, Matt. I think I'm done. Unless you had anything else.
No. The only thing I've done recently is I've started showing my kids the Avengers films, and I don't really have a lot to talk about yet there because they just don't. First of all, the first few Avengers films are kind of, so I that is something that I feel like I'll want to talk about when we're further into the cycle.
Yeah, because I'll fight you on that one. But okay,
yeah, that's fine. Actually, they really liked Iron Man and they really liked Captain America. So,
cool.
Yeah.
I think Captain America: The First Avenger is one of the best films in the MCU. So.
I definitely liked it a lot more on this rewatch than I remembered liking it.
I just love those damn Boy Scout superhero characters, Matt. I can't help myself.
Yeah, I mean, Cap kind of grew on me with the later movies, and then I go back and I watch the earlier movies, and I'm like, yeah, I already love this character, so yeah, it works for me. It's the benefit of being able to tell a story across 20 movies.
Yeah, true. Makes long form storytelling easy when you have that much real estate.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that is all we had for you this week. If you have any opinions on the multitude of things we talked about today, you can reach out to us via email at doofmedia@gmail.com or over on our Twitter account at doofmedia. That's also the account that you should follow for news on new episodes and new topics and book clubs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, Twitter's great. If you're not already subscribed to this podcast, we encourage you to do so and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found.
Yeah, and you can find all the shows we do over at our website, doofmedia.com. I mentioned the book club just a few moments ago, and that is because tomorrow, as we're recording this, today, as you're listening to it, if you're listening to it the first day it came out, the 31st of May? Yeah, May. We're still in May. Is our next episode of the book club. We are doing Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. So we'll be over on YouTube Live tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, I believe. And we'll be talking for an hour and a bit about the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. So we broadcast those live and people come into the chat room and hang out with us. It's like a book club.
Yeah. We'll respond to your comments on the book too. So do that. Yeah. Also, please consider rating and reviewing this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Every review helps us get more exposure and introduces new people to the content that we make here.
All right, guys, we will see you all next week where we'll resume our patron-produced episodes. And next week, we're talking about Meet the Feebles, which is that dirty puppet movie. I don't think either of us have ever seen this, so it's going to be a new experience for both of us.
Yeah. I know nothing about it, and I'm going to try to learn nothing about it until I watch it.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say. My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say.